Heyo everyone, this is Unfit Chaos here, and this is going to be a quick start guide for the new Azaps units that just got unlocked. Alright, as I mentioned before, this is going to be a quick start guide for the Azaps units. We're going to cover how to get them, we're going to cover the veterancy points, we're going to cover some of the doctrines that I think will be pretty good on them, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what I've already noticed with playing them. So first off, the Azaps units, to unlock them, you're going to go to the unit challenges as normal, and you're going to have the Azaps tree. First tree is going to be your temporary 3-day contract, followed by an experience boost for them, your permanent obtaining of them, and then their Doctrine 2, which will actually reduce the on-watch cooldown by 4 seconds. So most of the unlock stages are pretty straightforward stuff. Take sword infantries into battle, do some kills, artillery to kill, some pretty standard stuff like normal we've seen. So as far as the units themselves, the Azaps units are a 4-star unit, as we know, and they do get a max of 20 levels. For the veterancy, if we get into that right away, I highly recommend the top tree from what we have already tested and seen. The top tree ends with getting your initiating of Counter-Strike actually when being attacked. So you just have a chance to initiate Counter-Strike right away, which is amazing because that is one of their best abilities. Bottom tree is actually going to be on watch and kind of go with that doctrine. So we'll have to see once we get them maxed out and have the doctrine on them whether or not it's going to be worthwhile to go away from the Counter-Strike top tree. But as for now, I'm highly recommending the top tree. With 20 max levels, you do have the ability to get this first one, the Hone, with all 3 in it, as well as the entire top tree. So for that tree, you are going to get your health from the start. You're going to end up with your increased all defenses by 2%, your increased health by 3%. It's going to reduce the cooldown by 3 seconds, and that'll give it a 2 count. You have your reduced damage taken while using Counter-Strike by 5. You have your reduced damage taken while counter-attacking. You have your immune to be knocked down when using your Counter-Strike. You have your Counter-Strike duration increased by 1 second. And then you get that amazing thing to have a chance to Counter-Strike back when being attacked. So these are all going to be really cool abilities because Counter-Strike is pretty amazing. And that is totally what I'm going to try to dump everything into, and I highly recommend trying as well. So for veterancy, I would go full top tree, and you can do Hone with 3 levels as well. This will increase slashing armor penetration. So I would probably go down the entire top tree first before I pick that up. That way you get your stronger abilities. Being a damage increase, I'd rather just push through and get your damage increases, get that knockdown immunity while using your Counter-Strike. So for doctrines to go into this, for the doctrines, obviously I can't see it because they're auxiliary right now, but they are slashing damage focused for their damage output. So they have slashing armor penetration at over double what their blunt armor penetration is, and their slashing damage is over 4 times what their blunt damage is. So you're slashing focused. So that means increase that slashing penetration, do that slashing damage increase on them as well. Their defenses are fairly decent, but they do have a very low blunt defense. So if you're concerned about that and getting into matchups where you potentially are going up against more blunt damage, could try to up it, but I would more of try to actually increase their piercing defense. These guys are going to be really good at taking down shield walls and actually countering a lot of those units. So taking piercing defense increase would be really nice for taking out Imperial walls or taking out like spear sergeants with them. Now there is the chance that you could go slashing defense and focus more of that if you want to actually use Azaps as a counter to the Kadari guards, the guard unit from last season. That would actually be a good way to go as well if you want to give them a bit more of that slashing defense and be a counter to other shield units and kind of use them just to shut down other shock troops. So I plan to kind of go more slashing damage, slashing penetration, I'll probably do piercing defense and putting them up against more like your pike militias, spear sergeants, putting them towards that focus personally. As far as actual gameplay for the Azaps, I have already run the auxiliary unit through a few matches. I will say they are squishy without the veterancy levels. With the veterancy levels from the preview event, we saw that they are very good at taking out high tier units, taking out other tier 4s, tier 5s, and with those increases and that extra immunity, they are fairly robust. But currently, without any of those increases, their 6,500 health is really not keeping them sustainable. And a lot of the matchups I'm getting into, they are having a rough time. Now, once again, with those upgrades, I see that that's probably going to turn around. And I do want to run these guys up against a bunch of other units and do more unit testing with them as we get the veterancy up and see how well they work in those matchups. But as of right now, without any increases, they are very fragile and you have to choose your battles very precisely. One-on-one, they still hold themselves really well against a lot of other troops. As is, get those levels into them. Choose your battles very specifically. Don't run into a lot of stuff. Pick your battle. If you see a lot of tier 1, tier 2 units, you can hold your own fairly well. And it's not too bad to engage depending on what the warlord is. But otherwise, try to team up with another ally who has a bit more robust of a unit. And you can go in there and shock stuff up and let him do a lot of that cleanup or that initial hit too. Let him engage, go in and disrupt things and wipe it out. As far as direct matchups, the big one that I really want to test is them against last season's guards. So we're going to go ahead and see how that turned out. Yeah, just go ahead and charge. I'll counter charge. Oh. That's not what we expected. So I hope this video helped you get an idea of how to set up the Azaps and go forward with them, what doctrines to look out for, and what veterancy points to start dumping into. I really feel that you really like the unit as you get more veterancy points into them and you can get up and make him that little bit tankier. Luckily, a lot of those are towards the front of the veterancy tree, so you really shouldn't have to go too far in to start making them more sustainable and get those really good matchups against some of those tier 5 units. The Iron Reapers are definitely one to watch out for, but a lot of your Spear Sergeants, Imperial Spears, on a 1-on-1, I definitely wouldn't mind racing them in at a high level. But definitely, right off the bat, be very careful about what you match up against. Try to avoid a lot of the other tier 4s, seeing as most of those are going to have their doctrines and veterancy loaded out, and definitely pay attention more to a lot of those tier 3, tier 2 units. Hope that helped you out. Until next time, I hope to see you on the battlefield. No! Yes! Ha ha ha!